Welcome to 2014-2015 AmeriCorps Member Orientation. Please have your contract ready to review during this webinar. We are excited you have joined Project ACES for a term of service. Project ACES, Excel Children and Educational Support. We have 185 members statewide, all serving within Boys and Girls Clubs. All members serve in 3 focus areas: education and triple play, character and leadership, or volunteer coordinator programs. You will find several AmeriCorps fast facts. Discuss AmeriCorps lingo that you will hear throughout your term of service. AmeriCorps is not a job training. It is a term of service. AmeriCorps members are not employees, apprentices, or typical volunteers. You are an AmeriCorps member. You receive a wage or paycheck. You receive a living allowance. Report to work or to a job site. Report to a service site. AmeriCorps is about meeting the needs of the communities that you serve in, building relationships and partnerships, and strengthening civic engagement. AmeriCorps is about getting things done. AmeriCorps is not about doing busy work, finding temporary solutions, finding an organization, or volunteer replacement or displacement. You've received a packet of pre-enrollment paperwork. In that packet, you found AmeriCorps enrollment form, your tax documents, a publicity release, a grievance procedure, position descriptions, as well as emergency contact information. If you have questions regarding this paperwork, we would be more than happy to answer those questions for you. Enrollment paperwork must be turned in prior to member start date. For members serving in Project ACES, there are member requirements that must be met before you successfully complete your term of service. We will cover these in greater detail when we sign the contract. Activities that members are not allowed to participate in while serving in their AmeriCorps term, as they are prohibited by the national government rules and guidelines. While charged time to the AmeriCorps program, members may not engage in any of the following activities: not attempt to influence legislation or engage in a protest or boycott, any activities, or perform administrative duties. This is outlined in your contract that will be signed. Members may raise resources directly in support of program service activities. Members not dedicate no more than 10% of their hours in fundraising. For example, a member can seek donations of books from companies or individuals for programs working with teaching children. Members may write a grant proposal to a foundation to secure resources to support the training of volunteers. Members may not raise funds for living allowance or for an organization's general operating expenses. When a member completes their term of service, they receive an educational award. The amount of the educational award is listed on this slide. Of your AmeriCorps term, you will receive detailed instructions on how to access your AmeriCorps award, as well as more information regarding your AmeriCorps award. Educational award to pay education costs at qualified higher education institutions to assist with continuing education or to repay qualified student loans. Members, the educational award is taxed. We will begin to fill out your member contract. On the front line of your AmeriCorps contract, your name will be wrote in. And from here on out, the contract, you will be referred to as the member and Project ACES as the program. Different position descriptions are again listed within your contract. Check the service area that you will be in. As a Corps member, you must be at least 17 and working on a high school diploma, as well as be a citizen. You are required to provide proof of citizenship and age through either birth certificate or passport. You will also need a copy of a photo ID. You official saying that you meet the minimal qualifications. You will also notice that on each page of the member contract, you will be required to initial, saying that you understand that page in its entirety and that you are in compliance. The next page and a half discusses the FBI background check, how we do it, why we do it. Questions regarding the FBI background check, please don't hesitate to contact your supervisor or program director. You will now see that in these blanks, there will be dates that have already been filled in, and this will be your service start date and your service end date. You see where it says the member is aware that he or she must complete a minimum of service. That is where we have and how many hours you have completed, or how many hours you have to complete. Member must complete a minimum of 5 hours of service per week unless they have received prior written approval from the host site supervisor and the Project ACES program director. A request form must be submitted and approved for any week where there will be less than 5 hours per week served. It should be submitted at least 2 weeks prior to the time off requested. If you do not submit a time off request form and they submit a timesheet with less than 5 hours, that member will be suspended, which will result in forfeiture of the living allowance payment. Seek prior approval for time off will result in a suspension of 2 weeks with no pay. Sheets and seeking prior approval for 0 service hours is very important and is a critical component of the AmeriCorps program. As a member, you are required to complete a minimum of 12% of your hours and a maximum of 20% of your hours in training. It can include on-site orientation, program orientation, workshops, webinars, staff meetings, etc. If you have any questions regarding what can and cannot count as training, please do not hesitate to contact us. Please check next to the hours of service hours that you are serving and note the required number of training hours. And then has it pre-filled out at the location of the club that you will be serving at, as well as your site supervisor's name. You will receive a biweekly living allowance for their term of service beginning the first pay period following the initiation of the member's service, your start date. When the member has completed the year of service and the required hours, the member will receive an educational award to be issued by the Corporation for National Community Service National Trust Fund. And you have the total number of living allowance amount as well as your educational amount listed here. The next line is pre-filled out with how many living allowances you will receive, the amount of those living allowances before taxes, as of when your first living allowance and your last living allowance will be received. important to keep in mind that if a member completes their term of service hours early, they must continue to serve at least 5 hours per week in order to continue receiving their living allowance stipend, unless a contract modification has been submitted and approved. The AmeriCorps should notify their site supervisor and program director as soon as they realize they will complete early or need extra time. All assigned hours are required to be completed no later than August 31st, 2015. Members will receive direct deposit of all living allowance checks, except last and final living allowance check. Your living allowance check will be held unless you have all member requirements met. Those include exit form, site survey evaluation of site by member, a final performance review, as well as a final timesheet. Your living allowance will not be released without all materials being received. Please note that this could lead to a delay if a member in the host site is slow to respond and turn in all required paperwork. The member understands that in order to successfully complete the term of service as defined by the program and to be eligible for the education award, they complete their minimum hours of service, compare service, and satisfactory completion pre-service training and the appropriate education training that relates to the member's ability to perform services. Those requirements include a biweekly timesheet that will be completed on AmeriCorps, monthly reports. Each required to submit a monthly report that collects data on the services they are providing at the club. This can include the calculation of survey results, pre- or post-test results, and information about volunteers assisting in programs, as well as the enrollment and attendance data on youth. You will to report on your activities each month using monthly report format. All reports are completed on SurveyMonkey and will be emailed out monthly. You can site supervisor to develop a system for gathering required data and submitting it on time. Be accurate and account for each member's service activities. When one member is serving in a program area at the club site, those members can combine their reports into one, as long as each member's name is included on the report. Members are required to submit one great story per month of service. A monthly story is something positive or great that happened during your term of service. This will be submitted utilizing the online AmeriCorps system. As discussed above, there's a required minimum number of training hours that must be completed. As an AmeriCorps member, you are required to participate in at least one community service activity, either within the club or in your community. This includes planning and implementing a project for Martin Luther King Day of Service, Random Acts of Kindness Week, National Youth Service Day, and the list continues to go on and on. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask us. Understands that in order to be eligible to serve additional terms of service, the member must receive satisfactory performance reviews for any previous terms of service. Members serve up to 4 terms of AmeriCorps state or national service. The member's eligibility for additional terms of service will be based on a midterm and an end-of-the-term evaluation of the member's performance. Evaluation will include successful completion of required program hours, satisfactory completion of the monthly reports, assignments, and other tasks as required. All other criteria are communicated both orally and in writing during the term of service. The member understands, however, that the eligibility for an additional term of service does not guarantee selection or placement. Again, the amounts of the allowance and educational award are listed. While serving AmeriCorps, AmeriCorps member, you are also eligible to receive other benefits. Deferment, loan interest accrual payment, as well as possible state benefits such as SNAP food stamps. Upon successful completion of the AmeriCorps term of service, the member will receive an educational award from the National Service Trust as described in the paragraph above. This award is called the Siegel AmeriCorps Educational Award, named after Eli Siegel, the National Service Movement pioneers. The next section just discusses things that are relevant to your educational award. Again, this information will be sent to you once you complete your term of service and you are ready to utilize your educational award. The educational award is good for 7 years upon completion. The conduct. As a member, you are expected at all times while acting in an official capacity as an AmeriCorps member to demonstrate mutual respect towards others, follow directions, and there are all concerns, problems, and suggestions to Lonnie Miller, the program director, or Jessica McKinley, the program director. As I said earlier, there are activities that members are not allowed to participate in while turning time to their AmeriCorps service. If you have any questions regarding this activity, please do not hesitate to contact us. The member understands that the following acts also constitute a violation of the program's rules of conduct: tardinesses, absences, use of appropriate language, failure to wear appropriate clothing to service assignments, stealing or lying, failure to perform assigned AmeriCorps service duties, or failure to complete and submit timesheets. Project Census would like to encourage its members and employees to utilize social media outlets to share information about the club and its activities. However, we ask that you adhere to the following guidelines. Media sites for company-related purposes during work hours is acceptable. All you should refrain from using social media outlets for purposes that do not bring value to BGC during work hours. We ask not share any information that is confidential in nature, including names of individual club members, substance of internal confidential communications. Please remember your online presence reflects BGC. Be aware that your actions captured via images, posts, or comments reflect positively on that of BGC. Be respectful to the club, other employees, club members, volunteers, and board members. Codes and trademarks may not be used without written consent. Staff members and adult volunteers are prohibited from being friends on Facebook or followers on Twitter or engaging in any other kind of personal relationship via social media outlets with members under the age of 18. Do not post items that would violate the rules and policies of AmeriCorps, such as alcohol and drug usage or comments. We have a program, and immediate dismissal can occur for violations of these rules. We will next discuss our discipline policy. Consequences for violating provisions shall be: the first offense, an appropriate program official will issue a verbal warning to the member. For the second offense, the program official will issue a written warning to the member. For the third offense, an appropriate program official will issue a final written warning to the member. For the fourth offense, the program may terminate the member. Members will receive a copy of any and all warnings for their records, as well as the program director. The following violations result in immediate termination from the program: engage in activity that may be physically or emotionally damaging to youth, other members of the program, staff, or people within the community. Possess or using any illegal drugs during the term of service. Consuming alcoholic beverages during the performance of service activities. Comments, pictures, or other drug, alcohol-related items to social media during your term of service, or failure to notify the program of any criminal arrest or conviction that occurs during your term of service. Release the member for cause for the following reasons. If out of the program without notifying program staff, does not show up for work, does not for illnesses or other reasons, and does not return phone calls, attempts of program to contact the member. If the member dropped out of the program without obtaining a release or compelling personal circumstances from the appropriate program official. During service, if the member has been convicted of a violent felony or the sale or distribution of a controlled substance, or if the member committed a fourth offense in accordance with paragraph D of this agreement. Release from the service can also be caused by any other serious breach that a judgment of the director of the program would undermine the effectiveness of the program. So release the member from the term of service due to compelling personal circumstances if the serious injury or illness that makes completing the term impossible, the serious injury, illness, or death of an immediate family member, and the member is needed to care for the family member or take over the duties of the family member. The member is called up for active duty service by the Armed Services of the United States, attributable to the program or otherwise unforeseeable and beyond the participant's control, such as a natural disaster. Some other circumstances occur that make it impossible or very difficult for the member to complete the term of service, and the program deems the circumstance to be compelling. Documentation will be required to be submitted to sustain the situation. The documentation will then be submitted to the state office for approval. Once approval is received, the program will exit the member for compelling personal circumstance. The member will receive a prorated educational award based on the hours of service completed, as long as they have completed a minimum of 15% of their hours of service. To note that compelling personal circumstances does not include leaving the program to enroll in school or to obtain employment or because of dissatisfaction with the program. The program will suspend the member's term of service for the following reasons. During the term of service, the member requests a suspension based on compelling personal circumstances. A member will be suspended during the term of service if the member did not complete their 5 hours per week requirement and not get prior approval, or time off by using the time off request form with written approval by the site supervisor and program coordinator. The member is immediately suspended for 2 weeks and result in the loss of 1 payroll. Suspended during the term of service if the member has been charged with a violent felony or the sale or distribution of a controlled substance. The program may suspend the member's term of service for violating the rule of conduct provisions in accordance with the rules set forth in the agreement. If the member discontinues his or her term of service for any reason other than the release for compelling personal circumstances, the member will cease to receive the benefits described in Section 5 and will receive no portion of the educational award or interest payment. If the member discontinues his or her term of service due to compelling personal circumstances, the member will cease to receive benefits described in Section 5. The procedure is a 3-page form that you filled out with your pre-enrollment paperwork. Project ACES is an equal opportunity policy and does not discriminate. If you feel like you have been discriminated against and you want more information, there's contact information listed here. Once again, ACES is a drug-free workplace. Activities during your term of service. Members are allowed to participate in duplication. AmeriCorps members may not be used to duplicate an activity that is already available in the locality of a program. AmeriCorps members cannot be used to provide a private nonprofit with activities that are the same or equivalent to activities provided by a state or local government agency. Members are not allowed to participate in displacement. An employer may not displace an employer position, including partial displacement such as reduction of hours, as a result of the use by an employer of an AmeriCorps member. As an AmeriCorps member, you will enhance programs that are already in place within the club. Really discuss fundraising activities, and again, they are listed out here within the contract. This may be changed or revised by written consent of both parties. The program reserves the right to assign the members to a different site if the director feels it is for the program and the members' best interest. You will sign as well as print your name and date as an acknowledgement that you have understood and agreed to all terms and conditions of this agreement. Your site supervisor will also sign this contract before sending it back to our office. In your packet with paperwork, you've also received a training material evaluation form. This can be filled out upon completion of a training that an AmeriCorps member does. Back to Lana Taylor at the address listed below. In your packet, you have also received a copy of the living allowance schedule. It has the work week, when timesheets are due, and then what day you will be paid on. And information for logging on to our online AmeriCorps OnCore timesheet system. Information is always your first initial, your last name, followed by the year you started the program. For example, J. McKinley, 2014. It is automatically set as new pass pound 1. Once for the first time, it will ask you to change your password. As an employee member, when logging in, there will be several different AmeriCorps logos to choose from for your program. Please ensure you choose the Boys and Girls Club of Wayne County program site. Here's a copy of a sample timesheet. You will note that there is a section to record your training hours as well as your program service hours. In the description box, we ask that you use the timesheet activity codes that have been provided to you. For example, if you are working in the educational department and homework help to the youth daily as an AmeriCorps member, in your timesheet description box, you will simply put HH every day. To submit your timesheet, you will simply go to the bottom and hit Authorize and Submit. In other words, you could just hit Save until you are ready to submit it to the state office for approval. In your packet, you've received a time off request form, as well as a list of Dropbox resource materials that are provided by Indiana Alliance of Boys and Girls Clubs. Notice that there is a section for AmeriCorps Program 2014-2015. In that section, you will find the following. You find an AmeriCorps National Identity packet explaining exactly what AmeriCorps is, copies of position descriptions, as well as copies of everything else that we have signed, provided, or given to you. You also receive examples of monthly reports that are required, as well as a section called Life After AmeriCorps. It has a lot of information on how to add AmeriCorps to your resume, how to join AmeriCorps alumni, as well as other service resources. You will also receive a copy of the application enrollment paperwork that you have completed and sent back to our office. Again, this is all with some Dropbox, your AmeriCorps program manual. You initial each box stating that you have received this information, as well as written sign in the bottom of this form. Form in your packet you can ignore, as we, the program directors, utilize this form to make sure that we have every information and documentation that is required by the state within your file. Excited to have you join Project ACES for a term of service. Please visit our website or our Facebook page. We love seeing pictures and hearing stories of activities that you are completing within your service site. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to email Jessica McKinley or Lana Taylor at the addresses provided. Look forward to a great term of service with you, and are here if you need anything. Remember, AmeriCorps member, you're getting things done.